Welcome to the Blooming League of Original Podcasts.
G'day and welcome to a royally special edition of Thrash and Treasure, the torture chamber musical comedy podcast that will call a spade, then we'll use it to shatter each other's spirits. And speaking of spirits, I'll have a whiskey and you can charge it to this guy because he's gotten rid of all sugar, carbs and fun. It's my co-host, Evan, the Baker Man. How you doing?
Hey, how you going?
Yeah, good, thanks. You almost didn't make it?
Yeah, I had about 10 minutes to spare.
Well done.
I spent all night watching the clock and figuring out how much time I have left and when I need to leave. And yeah, it was a close call because you said 7 a.m. and I went, oh, I can't do that. There's no way I can do 7 a.m.
Yeah, that's all right. We're here now because guess what?
What?
We have another legendary diva in the studio today, and bless my soul, I even shaved for a change. This next guest began his fairy tale career when he caught the lyrical bug as a Harvard law student. Hear that, Evan? Whilst moonlighting as a songwriter for singer Pamela Stanley when his raw talent was thrown out of the frying pan and into the fires of the late and legendary Barbara Cook with her acclaimed 1980 concert at Carnegie Hall. And from there, this scintillating scribe saw himself selected by Cy Coleman to pen the Tony and Olivier Award-winning favourite, City of Angels, which also saw him score the Heavenly Tony for Best Original Score. Not long after, he said hello and a quick goodbye to Broadway with The Goodbye Girl, opened up Veronica's Closet, then spread his wings with the cult animated film The Swan Princess, which led this artist to go the Disney with two 90s Disney classics, the reflective Mulan, but not before Hercules. Oh my god, try not to cry, Aaron. So by this two-time Oscar-nominated stage, nothing can break his stride with a list of award wins and lyrical credits as tall as Mount Olympus. But as this legend is also a lawyer, I'd be a bad Cinderella to not give the warmest, most Aussiest g'day to the woman in white and the woman in sparkly black, by which I mean Liza at the Palace. Fitting given that Sir Andrew Lloyd Webber chose to invite this prince to the Royal Belleville Ball for today's chosen musical, with all 138 gazillion album sales in tow. So please welcome to the torture chamber the star-spangled man with a pen and paper. It's Mr. David Zippel. Welcome to the torture chamber. How are you going?
No wonder all of your guests blush. What an introduction.
Yeah, oh, thank you. I each time it's like, oh crap, how do I outdo myself this time? And but no, thank you so much. After that, I do need to lie down. But no, you've had so much in your career. Goodness gracious me, and a lot of this is my childhood. Thank you so much for coming on the show. I'm even wearing my Disneyland shirt, which has Hades on it. So there we go. I'm representing Hercules today. But for the metalheads out there, they would know Captain America. And you wrote the Star Spangled Man with the Plan, which is the iconic song from the first film.
With Mr. Menken, with Alan Menken.
With the legendary Alan Menken. Goodness gracious me, another man who's represented on this shirt numerous times. Now, have you experienced these fan reactions at conventions and sort of when that song plays during anywhere that there is enough nerds? Have you been in that environment yet?
I've never been to one of those conventions, but it sounds like something worth attending.
Yes. Now, I think it's, if you've ever gotten goosebumps from a Broadway audience, I think this would be twice as much because nerds are not as polite, let's just say that, as Broadway audiences have been, and West End audiences, obviously. Now, did they approach you for the recent What If series to do sort of a female version with Peggy, maybe Union Jackie with a Plan?
No, not yet. There's always hope, though.
Damn it, Disney, why not? Because after the success of Agatha all along, you'd think they'd be, let's get some more.
Amen.
But anyways, we'll move on from vibranium to metal, unless, Evan, you have any, because you're an uber nerd.
Sorry, that was good. That was good. That was a nice one.
Moving from vibranium to metal.
Yes, very well done.
Thank you. Pat on the back, mate. That's a 3 a.m. pun, that one. Yes. Did you have any questions on Captain America, like that involvement there? Because obviously I know you've...
Yeah, well, I mean, I had no idea, and it makes sense that Marvel would come to the experts to when they need a Star Spangled song written. Yeah, it's amazing how much stuff you've been involved in that I had no idea. You know it, you've seen it, but it's like who's this guy? Who are you talking about? You start doing the research and you go, oh my god, you did that. Wow. Yeah.
I told you, like, this is mind blowing, like how legendary our guest is. Now
this is kind of the whole point. I really don't know much of the musical world at all.
Welcome to Thrash and Treasure. Now, we'll obviously, as I said, we'll move on to metal. Now, you were the musical director for the late great Barbara Cook. Were you guys ever listening to metal in the green room, headbanging around?
Well, I was not the musical director. My collaborator, Bobby Harper, was the musical director. I wrote lyrics for her.
Pardon me? That's Wikipedia again. You have got me again. Sorry.
Yeah, I'll have to get someone I know to correct that, or you can do.
I'm not allowed to. Sorry, my 11-year-old has fixed too many things that they have sent us warnings to say we're not allowed to we're not allowed to fix anything else, or we'll get banned from Wikipedia.
And I don't think I'm allowed to fix anything. So
no, you can't fix yourself.
We'll leave it to the good wishes of the fan community to see if they can fix it.
Yes.
But no, I was not her musical director.
Okay, yep, sorry.
It's okay. The late great Wally Harper was that person, and I wrote lyrics for her. But I did spend a lot of time with her on and off stage, and I don't think she was listening to a lot of heavy metal.
No? Oh, well, that's a shame. What about yourself? Any experience?
I tended to like kind of soft rock, sort of chewy, crunchy rock, less hard. But to that end, and ironically, and this was initially what I told you, I wrote to you when I told you I was willing to be on the show, but that this was not my area. This week, I have a song that's #1 on the hard rock digital Billboard chart. So go figure.
Clayton Parrish,
from Mulan.
Right.
So I this is my scatterbrain, David. That if there was 2 songs that have a similar name, I'm going to make a portmanteau out of it. And having the songwriter in front of me, I'm going to screw this up, and I'm going to want to say, I Can Make You a Man, which is from Rocky Horror, but we're looking for I Can Make a Man Out of You, or am I mixing that up with something else?
Kind of close enough. I'll make a man out of you. Actually, I can tell you a Barbara Cook story that's a song for her Carnegie Hall concert called It's Better with a Band. Mm-hmm. And signing autographs in Canada somewhere, and for an album release event, and she was crowded. There were a lot of people around her, and as the crowd dissipated, she found herself next to a poster that said, "Barbara Cook signing autographs of her latest album. It's better with a man."
Unfortunately, I wouldn't know, because thank you very much, COVID, for ruining my love life. Anyway, so that's fantastic. That's why we have you guys on the show, to bring these fantastic stories that we're not going to find on Wikipedia, because it's all bloody wrong, as I keep finding out, unfortunately. Now, Evan, you chose the metal album this week, and you chose
Twisted Sisters. Classic album.
Hang on, sorry, just to throw it back to Mulan. I did listen to that cover. I've heard a lot of punk covers of pop songs, and I've even heard punk or ska versions of Disney songs. But this one was actually really well done, I thought, because a lot of them come across as gimmicky, and like Me First and the Gimme Gimmies, I love them, but Gimme Gimme sounds sort of like gimme gimmick. They're doing it as a gimmicky thing, but just like when Floor Jansen did Let It Go, this sounded like it belonged, is what I'm saying. So I thought that was pretty impressive. What did you think, Evan?
Yes, of course, it's excellent. I was going to say it's a common theme for metal bands to pick something unusual, speed it up, and chuck some distortion on it. And I'm still waiting for someone to do Hotel California.
How proud were you to hear that, though, David?
It was a very pleasant surprise, and it gave me rock and roll bona fides, which was good.
You now have street cred with the chiropractic set. Anyways,
Adam Lambert on Cinderella gives me a little bit of cred.
Yes, I was lucky enough to see Queen right before COVID dropped, and Adam Lambert of Queen. Oh my God, can he sing? What a legend. Anyway,
Queen is my kind of rock and roll.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm with Queen today. Oh, you can't see it. It usually says I'm with Stupid, but today it says I'm with Queen.
Yep.
Because I figured we're doing Cinderella. So
Right. But yes.
Anyways, Twisted Sister.
We are back in the 80s again.
We are.
We've spent a lot of time in the 80s lately, and
That's absolutely fine.
I think we'll move on. I used to think that the 90s was the best period for music in general. You know, all the best songs are in the 90s. I was wrong. It's the 80s. You know, everything was made in the 80s. You know, the emergence of rap,
the emergence of me.
You were made in the 80s. All right. Yeah, but we're back in the 80s. It's 1984. Quiet Riot was a good 12 months earlier, breaking out, getting into the mainstream. And yeah, Twisted Sister were plugging along. I think they were formed in about 76. So they've been plugging along for about 8-9 years, trying to get a record label everywhere, getting rejected everywhere. They were stuck in the pubs. Yeah, they decided to, can't remember the reason, but they decided to move to Britain and have a crack over there.
The weather.
And they got picked up by this little known label in Britain called Secret Records, where they recorded their first 2 albums, which were doing okay, and there was some sales, and they were, you know, earning a bit of money, and they were not well liked at all. There's this brilliant footage. They were playing a festival in Britain in front of like 30,000 people, and I've never seen so much stuff thrown on stage in that gig. They were, you know, and it was tomatoes, lettuce, cucumbers. The drummers like sitting there going, I could have made a salad with what ended up on stage. No, they were not going down well at all.
Oh, okay.
And then Secret Records folded.
I was just going to ask, was that the inspiration for We're Not Going to Take It?
Yeah, well, yeah.
Possibly, yeah.
Possibly, yeah. Well, the story goes that after the show, one of the roadies actually found some feces on stage.
Ooh.
And they were wondering, Dee Snider tells the story, you know, 20 years later, he's laughing about it, going, you know, how angry do you have to be to drop trow in front of 30,000 people and have it end up on stage? But yeah, they ended up back in America. They got picked up, I think, by Atlantic at some point and recorded this album, which of course just went mental. They sold about 3 million albums, which was pretty damn good for 84. But it was the music videos that really sent them into the mainstream. Dee Snider had this vision of, you know, cartoony violence. They are sort of credited as one of the first music videos that tell a story in the video rather than just driving around in cars or, you know, playing on stage or just videoing themselves, although I would argue it was Alice Cooper. Anyway, beside the point. The problem was with these videos, MTV picked them up, you know, they're getting huge airplay, they're, you know, biggest band in the world. And the problem with the cartoony type story-driven music videos, they started appealing to the younger audience. And they were having, you know, middle school and elementary school children turn up to their shows with their parents. And then again, there's this classic story of they're playing this show and this mother has brought her 9-year-old to this show. And there was a heckler up the front and Dee Snider has said, hey, buddy, why don't you suck my dick? The parent has just lost her shit and called the police. He's ended up getting arrested after the show for, you know, indecent public conduct or lewd behavior, something like that, which ended up being a $75 fine, you know, with a bit of a slap on the wrist, but it did get the attention of the parents groups.
Mm-hmm.
So next thing you know, you're a little bit down the road, you're testifying in Congress in front of Tipper Gore, you know, for the explicit lyrics stickers going on the albums. You know, they were part of that. And there is this classic exchange between Dee Snider and Tipper Gore, where they're asking what I think it's the final song on the album, SMF. And they're like, what does SMF stand for? He goes, oh, well, it stands for sick motherfuckers.
Oh.
And she goes, well, that's not very Christian. And he's going, well, I don't see what profanity has to do with Christianity.
No. Christians swear.
They became the embodiment of sort of everything that was wrong with rock and roll and heavy metal and became a bit of a target. Yeah, so they sort of earned their place in music history through that. Of course, they eventually lost and, you know, we still got stickers on albums.
Yeah. Well, I've written a review. Would we like to hear it?
Why not?
Yeah.
I think that's why we're here.
Let's see if they are still a target. When I first saw the cover, I felt right at home after watching so much Drag Race. So when I was ready, I SETI'd and goed to Spotify And whilst the first song had interesting drumming and raspy vocals free of sleaze, the second track got me excited. A cover of The Who's Tommy? We're Not Gonna Take It is a classic finale, so I don't know why it's so early on this show. Hang on, this isn't Tommy. This is yet another cover that isn't a cover. Doth a song by any other name sound so sweet? No, I'm not gonna take this. I never did and never will. 3 stars. But wait, there's more. No, I'm still better.
Oh,
That's my review.
ouch.
Okay, no, I'm being mean. Reverse Psychology is real though with the first song, Stay Hungry, and the title, because all I wanted to do was eat. Burn in Hell was dark and with an almost punkish flavor. It was actually pretty good, but it's okay because I know I'm going to burn in hell. I've already bought some marshmallows. Horror Terrier was also dark, and whilst long, it was like the current season of American Horror Story double feature, and the price was too slow for me, and the defeatist attitude made me want to skip it.
Oh, nasty.
So, and I thought SMF meant sexy motherfucker, and the joke was, oh, they wrote a song about me. Now that's, well, I guess it still is. What was it?
Yeah.
Oh, sick motherfucker. No,
Sick
that's not. If it was
motherfucker.
stupid, yeah, then me.
Yeah.
Pardon our language, David. You are a Broadway and Hollywood legend.
Oh, I'm sorry, that's just what it stands for. The fan club is actually, the Twisted Sister SMFs.
Oh, are they?
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
that
so-
doesn't surprise me at all. Mariah Carey's fans are lambs.
It's funny you should mention Horror Terrier.
Yeah, I quite like that. That was very theatrical. Like that was a.
He did go, D. Snyder did go and make a horror film.
Oh, I should have done my research.
Yeah, in that song, Captain Howdy, Stay Away from Captain Howdy, he turned that into a character that he played himself.
Oh, okay. Yeah, cool.
So yes, it is, it did end up being a horror film sort of fleshed out from just that one song.
Yeah, why don't horror film, not horror film, why don't metal musicians ever make a comedy film or a family film? Why is it
No.
always a horror? Rob Zombie and
Rob Zombie with
Halloween and
House
House of a
of a
Thousand
Thousand
Corpses, and
Corpses.
it's never, beaches.
They probably have to change their makeup.
Yeah, that's true. Although the 80s, the big hair.
If you put Marilyn Manson on a beach, I think he'd end up pretty red.
Yeah, probably. Although he's a pariah at the moment. I think his face is pretty red.
Mm.
Or his wrists from the handcuffs. Anyways, yeah, okay. So David, what did you think of this?
Well, it's a fairly classic album.
Yep.
We're Not Going to Take It was huge, and I rather loved the song. Burn in Hell was pretty good. And the opening number I liked too. Opening number, I guess I'm still talking about it in theatrical terms, but I liked Stay Hungry.
That's fine. Yeah,
And
every
then-
week I do that.
It was kind of middling after that. Not my favorite album.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I'm kind of not really fun to admit but in listening it back, I was even sitting here going, this isn't really a great album. Not really.
Really?
Well, you know what I think's not great? Sorry to cut in there. It's the stadium anthems. The We're Not Gonna Take It, which again, I'm still hearing the Who's Tommy, and I Want to Rock, which has been overdone in so many movies where anyone is walking up to a bloody monster truck rally or they're putting on sunglasses and a leather jacket, you're going to hear that bloody song. But the dark songs that they had on there that I pointed out, those were actually decent songs because they haven't been done to death so much. They didn't sound like a million other bands. They sounded like a band who was in their third album and maybe playing around with their sound a little bit, moving away from that stadium anthem sound. That's, in my opinion, as a complete troglodyte who has no idea what I'm talking about.
Yeah, see, I'm a big fan of track 7, Don't Let Me Down. Wasn't a single. That's a great song.
I was going to defend them for the reason We're Not Going to Take It is overdone is because it's good.
Well, yeah, I'm such a huge Tommy obsessee. I really am. So, and it's funny because doing the Tommy episode with Michael Cerverus and Lara, who was co-hosting with me at the time, she mentioned the Twister Sister song. And so I had that going through my head when I was trying to talk about the Who's Tommy. now talking about Twisted Sister, all I have going through my head is the Who's Bloody Tommy version. So I think my problem is earworms for me when I don't know the lyrics enough to know the whole song. When I get just 2 or 3 lines stuck in my head, that's when I need a screwdriver to stab myself in the bloody ear with it. But when I do know a full song, then I'm able to finish the song out. No one's around, I can perform it in my kitchen by myself. Yeah, so songs like I Wanna Rock or We're Not Gonna Take It, I don't know well enough, but I do know their catchy choruses, and I think that's why they drive me nuts, because I don't know any further. It's my ignorance. It's me, it's not them.
So that's where it amazes me. Again, I was listening back to it, and it's been, probably 30 years since I've listened to the whole album again. And it's amazing how well memory still works. And like, every word is still there. I could just sing along to the whole thing, not missing a beat. It's all still up there somewhere. But yeah, I was, again, listening back to it, I was a little disappointed with the quality of the recording. I found it was quite muddy. Some of the songs sound a little underwater. And turns out in 2004, they got back together and re-recorded the entire album. 20-year anniversary. And the problem is they didn't change anything. It sounds exactly the same. There's like one lead break that's different, and the drummer is exceptionally better than he was. And he's going a little bit mental, but the recording still sounds very similar. Like, I wanted a bit more clarity. It needed to be done, I don't know, in a better studio with a better producer or something. It just wasn't as clear as I would have liked it. Anyway.
Yeah. Did you notice this, David? Because you're more of an expert than us civilians.
No, I didn't.
No, you didn't. Yeah, so I noticed it in Iggy Pop's Raw Power, which we covered with Tonya Pinkins. Yeah, I noticed it in that the recording was so grainy. It irritated me because the music didn't sound good for what should be like one of my favorite genres. And especially Iggy Pop, who has such a reputation behind him. So no, I didn't notice it myself. Sorry, maybe it's my good sound system.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, maybe. You never know. But yeah, sometimes you just come across these albums where you go, oh, I just wish that was recorded better with better quality microphones, and I don't know what the problem is there, but they just come out muddy.
Sometimes you come across podcasts like that too, Evan. Welcome to Thrash and Treasure.
Sometimes it's lost in the mix. It's really hard to have clean, really clear mixes. It takes a lot of time and work.
Who was I reading about? I think when I was reading about the Police the other day, the Police recorded in a stairwell, I think, to get natural reverb and sound.
Led Zeppelin used to do it with their drums. They would record in a stairwell.
No, I wasn't reading about Led Zeppelin recently, but I was reading about the Police. Anyways, I think we've unraveled the Twister Sister. So
I loved listening back to it again.
You did? Even though it was mediocre, adequate at best?
Yeah, well, I think you remember it better than it was. It's one of those. Yeah. But no, I was still headbanging around the bakery. Loving it.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
And were you headbanging around, David?
My head doesn't bang around that much, but it was very much a time capsule, and it was fun to think about the 80s. I like the 80s.
Yeah. You get these weird snapshots. Like I remember, I would have been, I think I was 8 years old when this came out. I clearly remember jumping on the trampoline singing "We're Not Gonna Take It." Yeah. There's little snippets come back.
Mate, I'm 36 years old and I still jump on the trampoline and scream, "I'm not going to take it." Anyways, we're going to take it to an ad break and we'll be back in a moment with David Zippel.
Coming this summer, winter, spring, or fall, the first ever musical theater sitcom, where you go behind the scenes of the latest West End show, the Fosse Forest Ballet.
Where's the important stuff? Aha! £1,000 a week ensemble rate. That's what Mamma Mia likes.
Starring Philip Joel and a West End cast featuring Carrie Ellis, Darren Day, Louise Demon, and Oliver Saville, and more.
It all started in 1987 when I was a jobbing actress working in a diner.
Yeah, it's just, I had a really bad experience when I was touring Australia with a wombat.
Darling. Mwah, mwah.
La, la.
How long have I been mentoring you? 3 months?
2 years.
So her name is Henrietta.
The horse.
Yes. I've managed to secure you an audition for the biggest, most innovative, and the latest show to be going into the West End. Joseph and his Technicolor Dreamcoat. Think more along the lines of Pant.
Frozen.
You can watch this episode for the price of a coffee. Simply go to www.thefossyforestballet.com. Any and all profits go back to theatre charities, acting for others, and the theatre's trust. You'll laugh, you'll cry, and you'll see a grown man in sparkly tights.
Tight nights. Nice. Tights.
We're back with Thrash and Treasure. I'm Aaron, that's Evan, and we're joined by legendary Broadway lyricist David Zippel. What the hell? Goodness gracious me. It is really a true honor to have you on this show. And I'm going to get the hard question out of the way now. Well, it's not the hard question, but it's the, I guess, the sentimental question for me. So I hope I've got tissues nearby. Now, for those Disney fans out there, there are 2 documentaries to check out: Waking Sleeping Beauty and Howard. They're both on Disney Plus. Get the tissues; they will both make you cry. But they very much highlight the Disney Renaissance period, of which, David, you were a part of. You stepped in with Hercules and Mulan. Now, Howard Ashman, he was a real champion of bringing the Broadway musical into the animated film. So when you stepped into this, how was that for you, taking that torch?
Yeah, I knew Howard and liked him very much, and of course admired him enormously. Alan and I wrote together probably from the early '80s, and had written some views in New York. So of course I knew Howard through Alan, and it's just tragic and heartbreaking to lose him so in his life and in the AIDS crisis. So I was honored when Alan asked me if I would do Hercules. Of course, musical theater was definitely the world that led me to writing, and writing animated films is pretty much the same process. The difference is, instead of having at most 20 musicians, probably like 10 now, you get 100 musicians when you do an animated film.
As I say, I was maybe 11 when Hercules came out. And whilst that was big and spectacular, the songs were what I loved about that, because they were so funky. They really were. Yeah, that's really was my takeaway. That and the abs. But anyways, from one fantasy to another.
Yeah, well, actually, I was going to say my again, finding out that you have a hand in all these things I had no idea about. My stepdaughter is quite a decent singer and was doing a little bit of musical theatre. I would come home from work and Hercules would be on, and then I'd come home from work again and Hercules is on again. And I'm like, after 4 or 5 times, I was like, really? How can you just watch the same movie over and over and over? Just, it's just one of her favorite films, and sits there singing along. So yeah, and to find out that, they're your songs, it's a discovery.
About a year and a half ago, just before COVID, Alan and I had the opportunity to revisit the show and the score because we did a stage version in Central Park.
Yeah, for the Delacorte.
Indeed. And it went really well. And so now we're working on doing that. Was done as part of a group called Public Works. It was more of with I think 250 onstage people. So it was kind of an extravaganza. And it went well. So we're taking that version and adapting it for a more traditional musical theater production with 20 to 25 people instead of 250 people. So reducing it to 10% and finishing it right now. So we're really enjoying working on it again, and writing new songs for those characters has been fun.
Yeah, there wasn't enough. As I say, that was my takeaway, was the music, which was across the board for that era of Disney films from The Little Mermaid onwards, which, as I say, that Howard, look, anyone go out and watch the documentaries Howard and Waking Sleeping Beauty and see the impact that people like David and Alan Menken and Stephen Schwartz and even Elton John and Tim Rice, and of course Howard Ashman had on all of our bloody childhoods, for crying out loud. These are the songs that we hum all the time. But anyways, from one fantasy to another, we'll talk about Cinderella.
We're going to move on to Cinderella, which is a new musical. Which it's nice to see some new material, which is finally. Is it up and running now? Are you doing show? Has it opened?
It is
yet?
indeed. It is indeed.
Yeah. Can you relax your shoulders now that it's finally, like, sit down and go, "Oh, thank goodness," because obviously it was a touch and go there.
Well, COVID has been the sort of Damocles that's been hanging over all of show business and certainly all of live theater. Putting the show together was a joyful experience, and usually with a new show, there's all kinds of anxiety about, is this going to work and how are we going to fix it? And do we cut this song and write a new song for that section? This show had none of the drama like that. From the first preview, it went so well, but COVID provided all of the anxiety that was missing from the usual process. We were supposed to open to full houses, and then the government changed the rules, and then Andrew decided that he was going to get arrested and open with a full house anyway, until he found out that not only would all of us be in chains, most likely, but that everyone in the audience would have been fined, I think, the equivalent of $750. Opened with socially distanced audiences for a month, losing money, so that we could finally open with a full house. And the weekend before the opening night, one of our actors got COVID. So we were going to have to shut down. So Andrew just shut us down completely, which made economic sense. And a month later, we opened finally at last. And thank God. And I couldn't be happier, although I'm 7,000 miles away.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's a shame. But obviously we've had I wrote actually my own version of Cinderella. We've just had the recent film and all that. How many people gave you sass when you said, "I'm working on Cinderella"? Or did no one?
Oh, for writing Cinderella, you mean?
Or a new version of it. Did anyone? And did you want to smack them for it?
Well, it's always good to want to smack people, but no, the truth is, it was when Andrew called me, I thought, what a good idea. I didn't realize there were going to be quite as many Cinderellas at the same time.
Yeah.
But I started a campaign to get Andrew to call the show Not Cinderella. And I thought Andrew Lloyd Webber's Not Cinderella was a great title. And I think I had a few people who felt the same way, but Andrew wanted to call it Cinderella, because I just thought we should, right from the get-go, let our audiences know that we're not your grandmother's or grandfather's Cinderella. But nope, we're Cinderella. Yeah. And I think we're a good one, though. I'm very proud of it.
Yeah, no, if you had called it Andrew Lloyd Webber's Not Cinderella with the apostrophe S, it would have been like he was saying that he's not Cinderella. That might have been sending the wrong message there. But anyways, so Evan, what did you think? And
so my original thought, it's quite long just to listen to, because I initially looked at the track list and went, oh my God, how many songs are there? Oh, they're all quite short. All right, this shouldn't take too long. Yeah, it is. I'm not sure what the actual runtime ends up as. It's quite a long album.
Yeah.
But yeah, I listened through it all the way through, and honestly, my first thought was, you worked Schifferrobe into a song.
Well, and in answer just to respond to your composed musical, so rather than having a lot of dialogue, and which would normally make a musical an album a little bit shorter, we sang a lot of the dialogue as well. So that's what I think accounts for the length of it.
Yeah. That was I had a question later on. Is there any dialogue at all in the show? Because this is the first musical I've had to listen to where the entire story, start to finish, is being told in music. And some musicals have come close to that, where you can get the gist of the story. And sometimes the dialogue can end up inconsequential to the songs. But in this, the entire story is in the music, and it doesn't seem to leave any questions about the story, other than I was wondering, was it Cinderella who vandalized the statue?
It was indeed. And there's a lot of visual
I've dropped
elegance
out.
to the show that the album doesn't really give you a sense of. Also, the show has changed a little bit. The album was recorded during lockdown, and the significant amount of it changed between what's recorded and what we actually have on the stage. In fact, that huge sequence that Adam Lambert does, the vanquishing of the three-headed sea witch, isn't even in the show anymore. But I still think you get a good sense of the tone of our show from the album.
Funny, I was listening to it again this morning and listening to that song of Prince Charming telling where he's been. It did cross my mind, like, this song isn't really necessary.
That crossed my mind while we were writing it. And I thought, I don't think this is going to make it to the end. But everyone was very excited about the concept. And I figured, well, let's write it and we'll see. And I'm really glad we did, just because Adam Lambert recorded it and he did such a great job. And what a great sense of humor he has. He just captures the fun of it all. And there is dialogue. Emerald Fennell, I don't know if you know Emerald. She won an Oscar this year for Promising Young Woman.
Yep.
She's quite a remarkable woman. I met her when she was 33. This is January of 2019. She didn't have any children. She hadn't won an Oscar, directed a movie, hadn't written a Broadway show or a West End show, but had written the first season of Killing Eve and had recorded as playing the role of Camilla in The Crown. I don't know if you've watched The Crown, but she plays Camilla on that series, and that hadn't been aired yet. During the 2 years of COVID and the time it took us to write the show, she was nominated for 3 Oscars and 3 Golden Globes, won the Oscar for Best Screenplay, was nominated for an Emmy for Killing Eve, was nominated for an Emmy for playing Camilla, and wrote our show, and had 2 children. So I have to hand it to her. She's pretty remarkable.
Yeah, no, I have seen Promising Young Woman. Saw the trailer, whenever it was, and went, oh, that looks awesome. And yeah, me and my wife did sit down and watch it and thoroughly enjoyed that.
It's fun.
So yeah, I do know of some of her work.
There's some dialogue from Emerald, and most of it is sung, but it's crackling funny and good dialogue as well.
So yeah, I was really impressed with just how well the story progresses purely through music. You can just listen to this album start to finish and get the entire story. You kept the humor going without as far as something like Shrek, which is, just completely over the top silly. The narrative really barrels along with every verse, and the character development and plot is entirely told in the lyrics, which is, it is quite an achievement. It must be nice to finally see it all done and being performed and be able to sit back and enjoy the show. Unfortunately, you're on the other side of the world.
It was very satisfying to see it up on its feet, and the designs are so beautiful. It is so exceptionally gorgeous and clever. The set, our set costume designer is genius, and there's some coup de théâtre, some really cool things that happen. I won't give any spoilers, but
does that wall move?
Yeah, we're obsessed about the backdrop.
Yes, we are. Sorry, that's that wall.
I immediately saw it and went, what is that made of? How much does it weigh?
Does it move? Does it ripple?
Yeah.
I have so many questions.
Yeah, we were just fascinated with that backdrop. It is so gorgeous and so well designed.
Yeah.
And yeah, I immediately sort of went, what is that made of? And was there plans to have it, ripple, or at least have it in like 2 pieces in slats, and you could, move it up and down, cast light across it. There's so much you could do with it.
It takes light beautifully, and our lighting designer is aptly named Bruno Poet.
Mm-hmm.
But there's some more tricks that the set does and the theater does that kind of is pretty mind blowing. I think people are gasping when it happens. So I'll leave it at that.
Oh yes, no spoilers.
Please open it in Melbourne when you bring it to Australia, not Sydney.
I've never had a show in Australia. City of Angels almost happened and then didn't. And then I was going to direct a version of The Goodbye Girl, and I flew over and we cast it, and then the producer went bankrupt and it never happened. So
oh shit!
I know, I was very disappointed. So.
Oh bugger! Now, Evan, did you get through your review?
No, I'm about halfway.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Yeah, I'll let you continue. I really need to top up my coffee, so I'm letting you.
Hurry up.
take up the baton because my stress levels right now are through the roof.
I know you've so
Goodness
been. Look, I'm just going to speak up for Aaron here. He's been so looking forward to speaking to you, David, and
I have.
and his mind's just exploding because nothing's going right.
All my idols on this show, and this is the first time I've looked like a friggin' idiot. So
Yep.
I'm so sorry, David. Okay.
Au contraire. Au contraire.
Oh, thank you. I really do appreciate that. I know you're all just people. I've learned that, but still, I'm producer of this show, so it is on my shoulders. Anyways, Evan, continue.
Yeah.
I'm shutting up.
You shut up. Anyway, yeah, the just in listening to it and doing a bit of research, the cast itself just seems to be chock full of overachievers. Like Carrie Hope Fletcher herself, I think I counted about 15 or 16 different productions she's been involved in, and then 4 books, all at the age of 28, on top of being just ridiculously talented. And then when you pack such a talented cast on top of, Andrew Lloyd Webber's music, topped off with your lyrics, I really don't see how the thing can fail. And there are quite a few moments listening to it where I do stop and think, holy crap, who was that singing? There's some big notes, some big numbers that are really impressive. But generally with a lot of musicals I've listened to through the show, they generally sound very dated, or they just happen to be 50 years old, and you can hear it in the music. So being a new production with new music certainly wins me over most of the way just to begin with. I've mentioned before that orchestras today do play differently than they did 50 years ago. They have different influences. The musicians in the orchestra grew up listening to different music, and you can hear it in the final product. I hear you did sneak in a little bit of electric guitar in there, but even then it's used to further the mood of the song and for dramatic effect, not just to make it sound modern day. Which would make me think, you've got Andrew sitting there going, yeah, we'll bust out the distortion pedal on this one, And I do love again that a musical has made a baker the desired character, so you get points for that. Sunday. I love Sunday in the Park with George. Where the baker is the desirable mate, I suppose you might say.
Into the Woods as well.
Is there? I haven't heard that one yet.
Oh, that baker's my favorite baker in all of musical theater.
Oh, brilliant! Yeah, because you can't eat a painting,
Indeed. And Joanna Gleason, who you've had on your show, was the baker's wife.
Right.
That's what she won her Tony Award for.
That was before you took over, Evan.
Oh, brilliant. Well, it seems to be a common theme. Someone needs to do Baker the musical.
They have.
Called The Baker's Wife, that Patti LuPone starred in, that Stephen Schwartz, who wrote Wicked, wrote. And in fact, I commend you to listen to a song that he wrote called Where is the Warmth, about the baker. It's a beautiful song where she chooses between her hot stallion of a boyfriend that she runs away from and her very reliable, lovable baker.
Okay. Standout songs. I Know I Have a Heart just blew me away. Because You Broke It. That's really a standout song. And I hope for a change that there can be a breakthrough song from a musical that makes it into the mainstream top 40. It's about time some of these songs, got recognized from the wider community again, back in the day when, a lot of the songs from musicals ended up, on the radio. It's a shame that doesn't happen anymore, because it certainly deserves to.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, and Act 1 ends. Oh yeah, Beauty is a Price is another standout song. And the banter between the godmother and Cinderella is just classic. She's like, what? This short notice? Everyone else has been planning for weeks. The only intelligent question I might have is when someone walks into audition room for a lead or a support, what is the number one thing you are looking for apart from their vocal skills?
Well, definitely the ability to inhabit the character and their acting skills as well, and a star quality, basically. The talent, the level of talent is so high. So many terrific people come to audition, and it's easier and easier to choose a cast. But Carrie Hope Fletcher is just off the charts brilliant. And she did the reading for us that we did, the very first reading we did. And from that moment on, we realized that was our Cinderella. She was on fire. And one of the things that she's so good at is, in addition to singing brilliantly, she's really funny, and she can find the nuance and also touching. I mean, she's a really superb actress, or I guess actor we say now, and it comes through spectacularly. Even on the record, you can hear her sense of humor, and she's incredibly touching as well. It's a really amazing performance, I have to say.
Yeah, I'm a fan of someone else now. There's another name I now have to research.
Oh, that's lovely.
You'd scored Adam Lambert to play Prince Charming. What was that like to work with somebody who has a male, especially, that has such a range of vocals? Was it tempting to test him a little bit here and there?
Well, we certainly put him through his paces with that song. I mean,
Yep.
Very demanding. I was not at the session as a result of
Yep.
COVID, and it was a little heartbreaking because I'm a huge fan,
Mm-hmm.
and I just think he's a spectacular singer, and I was thrilled that he agreed to do this. And as I mentioned earlier, the song isn't in the show anymore, but I'm so glad we wrote it just because we got Adam Lambert to record it.
That's it.
I still listen to it just to hear his vocal now and then.
Yeah.
The other comment of Andrew Lloyd Webber is still producing critically acclaimed work. In his first publicly performed musical was Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat at the age of 20, which is over 50 years ago. And Aaron is 36, and he can't even make pasta without ripping the skin off his foot with third-degree burns.
Yeah, that's true. Thank you for reminding everyone what a numpty I really am. Now, okay, I've got a fun question. Who is someone from before 1900 whom you would take to the ball?
For 1900.
Yes, I've got to make it difficult.
Definitely Oscar Wilde, no question.
Awesome. Who would yours be, Evan?
For 1900?
Yep.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, that's a good answer. I had that question written purely for someone to say, Jesus Christ, so I could throw in that punchline. Thank you for falling for it again. Anyways, I think we better throw to an ad break before we all turn into pumpkins. We'll be back in a moment with Thrash and Treasure. G'day listeners, Aaron here. While you're topping up your coffees, did you know that you can support our show and go on a fantastically scary adventure at the same time? Go to www.thetonistonTales.com/bookstore to grab your copy of The Toniston Tales, a darkly funny Aussie trilogy about a young boy who rescues injured animals in his spare time and the roller coaster ride he's taken on by a literal fish out of water. Written by me, the village idiot of Thrash and Treasure, you'll come to love Toniston Turnbull and the dozens of wacky characters that he meets along the way. And here is a sneak peek. Crack, thud, the human trips over the uneven ground as the Twanimal blows out the lantern. Watch your step, Cubpaw says a little too late. Why did you put the light out? Bollycosh, an open flame near hay bales? And here I thought you were smart, sir. Toniston agrees with how silly he must have sounded. What are we doing out here? The boy asks as they blindly walk around the side of the house, where they're greeted by giant shadows rising up above them. Unable to properly see in the pitch-black darkness, Toniston presumes they are the 3 hay bales. He looks around. The plains are vast, and the spotlights out in the distance, now a purple colour, seem to be too far away to bring any real light to them. They do, however, look very pretty dancing on the rippling oceanic sky. Stand back, the silhouetted Cubpaw warns with his gruff but friendly voice, clearly able to see in the darkness better than the human, who had constantly refused to eat his carrots. Grab your copy of The Toniston Tales from thetonistonTales.com/bookstore today. Hooroo! I'm on record on this show saying it many, many times. His music is electrifying. It is exciting. And there is an open invitation for him to come on my show to talk about Evita, because that would be, goodness gracious me. You think I'm a mess today, David? I'll be cool, calm, and collected that day, because, I'd have to be. All right, you're listening to Thrash and Treasure. I'm Aaron. That's Evan. And we're joined by legendary Broadway lyricist David Zippel. Goodness gracious, not just Broadway, but Hollywood as well, having done numerous projects, including the Veronica's Closet theme song, which I'm going to say that I do remember when they changed that theme song, and I was not happy.
Well, thank you. I don't even know why they changed
Yeah,
it,
but just to a pop song, I don't care. We had a catchy thing like the 80s and 90s, maybe the 70s as well, with, you know, Greatest American Hero. Was that the 70s?
Yeah, late 70s.
Yeah, there were theme songs that were tangible that you could sing along to at home. Well, not at home. You were at home watching TV. You know what I mean? Like they stuck around. Yeah, so you don't know why they changed it. That was part of my question.
I have no idea. I think it had something to do with Kirstie Alley wanting a new song, but and as the star, Kirstie got whatever she wanted, but I never quite understood why. And Michael Skloff, was the composer with whom I wrote it, was still the musical director. So who knows? But it was never explained to me. But I think I got 3 seasons out of it, which is not bad. Did she get more than 4 seasons, or was that?
No, she didn't. No. That's when the tabloids sort of took over. They were quite cruel to her. And I actually have I don't know if this will make it to air, but I have a little insider knowledge of the Veronica's Closet set, because there was, I think someone complained to her or something like that, or complained to the bosses, and she came to set wearing a t-shirt that said, "Fuck me, I'm the boss." I don't think that would go down well today in a post-Me Too world. But yeah, so I think that's what she was kind of like. She was no fucks given, did what she wanted. You know, she was the boss, and it was her show. So I guess the good theme was a casualty of that ego. With all due respect to Kirstie Alley, she has blocked me on Twitter though, so she won't be hearing this episode. But anyways, now looking back at this stunning career and progress, what is the one song that you are the most proud of?
Wow, that's a tough one.
Good. You are on the torture chamber.
I would say it's like choosing among your children, and I have a lot of children. I'll narrow it down to a few. I'm not going to answer your question exactly as asked.
Then we can Hunger Games them.
You're Nothing Without Me at the end of the first act of City of Angels is something I'm particularly proud of, because it ties together what Cy Coleman and Larry Gelbart, our book writer, and I were trying to accomplish. And it really was an exciting, thrilling end of the act. And when it came together for the first time, we were all kind of gasped because it exceeded our expectations. So that's one of them. Go the Distance, because it was my first Oscar nomination, and because it was an unexpected song to be, it was written very late in the score. We had written a song for Megara, the female character, and called I Can't Believe My Heart, which we loved, and we thought that was going to be the hit. And as we watched the test screening of the show with just the pencil drawings, we all felt that it was a little late in the score to have a ballad. So we removed that song, which meant, and wrote a song for the Muses that was much more up-tempo. And result, we didn't have a song that we thought could be a pop hit. And so, which meant we removed another song we loved early in the show and replaced it with a to be written song. And so Go the Distance was written for that slot, and it had to be a potential pop hit and tell the story and have a kind of Olympic sound to it, Olympian sound that could create the score for the whole movie. And it did. So it did go the distance. So that's another one. And I particularly love Far Too Late in Cinderella, Far Too Late to Sing a Love Song, because melody, the first time I heard it, I just gasped. And I think other than All I Ask of You, which is I think Andrew's most beautiful song, maybe this is his second most beautiful melody. And so I was thrilled to have it in our show and to have a chance to write a lyric to it. So that's my answer today. Those are my 3 favorite children. Please don't tell the others.
Oh no, definitely. And then I'm going to tell them that they're all adopted. Anyways, I always found it fascinating that Tate Donovan didn't sing his own song. No disrespect at all to Roger Bart, who is amazing, but it's the Disney thing of like, they had Matthew Broderick as Simba, but he didn't do the singing. And it's like, he was on Broadway, kids. What are you doing? Like I've never understood why they do that.
It is funny. But Roger is a great singer,
Yep.
and he's a comic genius. And when we did Hercules in the Park, he came back and played Hades.
He did
And it
too.
was so funny and great.
Yep.
So I'm hoping that if we'll have a chance to work with him again when we do it on the stage. And he's currently in Back to the Future on the West End, which opened this week, I think.
Yep.
Yeah, and gather he's genius as usual in that. So I'm looking forward to getting back to London to see.
Yeah. Okay. Well, speaking of the different singers with Disney, if you were hired to write a musical starring these four leads, what should we expect? We have Ricky Martin, Christina Aguilera, Belinda Carlisle, and Michael Bolton. I think.
Oh, well, that sounds like Hercules to me. And Hercules, I mean, and Ricky Martin, wow, is that a great recording as well?
Yeah.
The song that we threw out of Hercules called Shooting Star, which was the first song we wrote to replace with Go the Distance, was something we loved. And Roger Bart's performance of that particular song is just amazing. And that was done with a huge orchestra. And to my delight, when the show opened in London, when the movie opened, Stephen Gately and Boyzone did a cover of it, and that was number 2 on the British charts. So
wow.
it didn't exactly go away quietly; it just went away, which is great.
But I was just wondering if this being a new musical with a strong female lead, are you satisfied now, Aaron, that there is a musical with a strong female lead that's not just the wife of somebody or the love interest of somebody?
Hang on. That's Alison Bechdel's test, not mine. Right. My problem is with the musical comedy vehicle, that we're not being given a MAME. But have you noticed this? Like, there's no real funny girl coming out anymore that is a star vehicle for a comedic actress, a younger comedic actress, when we've just had Hello Dolly revived. We're about to have Funny Girl revived. That's my issue. But have you noticed this, David?
I have. I would say that Cinderella definitely meets that test because that is a bear of a role. I mean, she's on stage all the time. She has a lot of singing to do. In fact, to protect our Cinderella, she's doing 7 performances a week, and we have a terrific alternate Cinderella who goes on once a week. It's definitely that much of a bear to do that show. And like Evita, it was a huge ask. So I think that is, if that's what you're looking for, Cinderella is the character.
Excellent. Good, because that is what I'm looking for, that a star vehicle that is the wildcat of the modern times. That's probably a really, really poor example to use there. You wouldn't get that joke, Evan.
No, I've no idea what you're talking about.
No, it's way over your head.
Evan, Lucille Ball was in Wildcat during its brief run.
Yeah, very, very brief run. The cat did not have 9 lives.
I've often heard Aaron complain about not enough leading ladies.
No, there are lots of leading ladies. That's not my issue. It is with a specific genre, because there are lots of dramas, there are lots of ensemble pieces, there are lots of coming of age stuff like Fun Home, and or even like depressing stuff like Next to Normal.
This is certainly a lot of comedy in here.
Yes, I know. I was highly surprised when I first heard phallus upon my first listen. I'm like, oh, this is not the Cinderella we know and love. I can't wait to see it. I really can't. But anyways, in that songwriting process, is there any difference when writing, say, a smaller solo or a love duet compared to a big, bold, brassy group number?
Not really. I mean, the group number or a big up tempo number, it really depends on. They both depend on the story. To try to tell the story in an interesting and fresh way. I suppose to some degree, love songs are a little bit harder because there are so many of them, and to try to say "I love you" in a way that no one else has, that it has a surprise to it. So again, I know I have a heart because you broke it. when that came along, I thought, oh, that's pretty good. I haven't heard that before. So it's really about finding fresh ways to tell a story.
Yeah. Now, we've had an ongoing question here. What has been your experience with standing ovations over time? Do you think audiences are maybe giving them out too freely today, or do you think that change is good, or what's your sort of perspective on audience reactions in modern times?
That's a very good question. I think they have evolved. In England, I gather that's a more recent phenomenon. Americans have been effusive for decades. It's only been in the last 20 years that English audiences have been quite as felt free enough to jump up to their feet. I think if the actors are good, and because I think the level of and the quality of performances has only gotten better, it makes complete sense to share that your enthusiasm for them, and because they're in the room with you. The songwriters aren't always there, obviously. I think standing ovations are great. If I think audiences do them sincerely. So if people they're not going to stand up if they didn't have a good time.
Yeah, because we've had lots of different perspectives here, so it's really good to get that a songwriter or a composer's point of view from that, because you aren't there all the time. So
well, it's funny because I read every show report, and there is one every day, and so far we haven't had a performance that wasn't a full standing ovation.
I'm not saying you don't deserve it. That's not at all the question. I promise that.
I wasn't saying that you didn't.
not saying that people aren't worthy of it at all. Just saying that there are different perspectives from that we've had from the guests, and that's why I keep bringing it up, because it is such a fascinating thing. Some people take it personally, some people don't. And I find that fascinating as well.
Yeah, you do get the odd performer will go, what are they standing for? That was terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I generally think performers are not necessarily the best judge of their own performance. I mean, usually you go to see a friend in a show and they always say, you should have been here last night.
Yeah. Well, I think it's certainly in the immediate future, you're going to see a lot more standing ovations because people are just so goddamn happy to be seeing shows again.
Yeah.
I think there is that. And people are so happy to be in a theater, a live theater.
Yeah. Any times you've been starstruck?
Sure. Well, initially I was starstruck by Barbara Cook, who became my friend. And then I was always a little bit starstruck. It's funny. I have the privilege of being Elaine Page's friend, and I think Elaine Page is a genius. And every now and then I'll be doing something with her and I'll think, oh my God, my friend is Elaine Page. You're brilliant. So when you have talented friends, it sort of comes and goes. Certainly Larry Gelbart and Cy Coleman, my first Broadway collaborators, were heroes of mine years before. I was 25 years younger than they. And so it was a pinch me situation for months until I finally realized that I just had to suck it up and act like it was no big deal, but it was always a pretty big deal.
Yeah. Okay. What about in the past, say 10 years or so?
Well, let's see. Well, Andrew is a pretty big star, but in the last 10 years, we've already written together and had written together a number of times. So I don't need sunglasses to be in the room with him. Trying to think who I've met. Joan Collins thrilled me. She's pretty amazing.
Wow. For me, it was Barbara Eden.
Oh, Barbara Eden's amazing.
She was so tiny, so small.
Was she in Australia?
Yeah, it was at a convention. Okay, now, so what's one piece of advice that you've been given early in your career that has since been proven wrong?
Oh, that's a very interesting question. Take Fountain. Now, what you may ask is take Fountain.
Yes.
That was this advice, and it's been attributed to Estelle Getty from the Golden Girls and Joan Crawford.
Yep.
And Betty Davis as well. There's a street in Los Angeles called Fountain Avenue.
Okay, yeah.
And the advice was what is an advice I could give someone starting their career in the movie industry? And the advice was take Fountain because it supposedly streams traffic along a little faster and saves you time. That's really not true anymore. It's still bad traffic.
Everyone's taking Fountain, in other words.
Exactly.
Yep. Now, Disney called tomorrow and offer you your dream animated film and a collaboration with somebody whom you haven't collaborated with before.
Oh.
What classic story are you doing? And who are you collaborating with?
Well, I'm writing with Elton John for sure, because I've always wanted to write with Elton John. The story, let's see. Well, Disney has had a history, I'm not sure if they're doing it as much, of sending you to the places you write about.
Yeah, no, they do that. Yeah, they're still doing it. Yep.
I always thought I wanted to do something about a little girl who lived at the Four Seasons in Hawaii, but Moana has been done.
Yes.
So Lin-Manuel got the Hawaiian vacation. So I think a story, Sex and the City, the animated musical. I don't know.
Anyways, I got one last question myself, so I don't know if Evan has any, but what's the one question that interviewers keep asking you that you wish would be put to rest for good?
Well, the most asked question is always which comes first, the music or the lyrics. Not sure that I need that one to be put to rest.
Yeah.
How about what's Andrew Lloyd Webber really like? Yeah. And you know what? He's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
In fairness, I've been able to write with a fair number of iconic writers.
Yeah, you have.
When you look at Marvin Hamlish and Cy Coleman and Andrew Lloyd Webber and Alan Menken, I mean, those guys are humongous names in music, much bigger than mine. So I can understand people wanting to know what it's like. It's not an unreasonable thing to ask.
I actually I saw an interview with Andrew Lloyd Webber recently, and someone asked him a really interesting question, which was, who would you have loved to have sung one of your songs?
That's a great question. What was his answer?
Elvis.
Ah, what a great answer.
And then he finished with, actually, Elvis did sing one of his songs.
Oh wow.
I can't remember what it was off the top of my head. I'd have to go look it up.
I have an easy answer to that, and that's Barbra Streisand, because I think she's amazing, and I've always wanted her to sing one of my songs, and I've written a lot of parodies that she has sung over the years, sometimes for benefit, sometimes in her concerts, but she's never really sung a song that I've written that was just a song. It's always been a special parody. So if you speak to her when she comes on your show, please ask her to sing one of my songs.
David, as much as I can get legends on this show, I've admitted to have never seen a Barbra Streisand movie in my life. I'm a 36-year-old gay man who's done theater for 27 years, and I've never seen a Barbra movie. She's not coming on this show.
Well, I encourage you to watch What's Up, Doc, because it is one of the funniest movies I've ever seen in my life. Write me when you've seen it and let me know if you felt the same way. It is really screamingly funny.
See, now this is the beauty of this show, that I could have gone my whole life, and weeks ago I said I'm going to go my whole life without watching a Barbra Streisand movie, and then one of my heroes comes on the show and says, you've got to watch this movie and then write to me afterwards. So how do I say no to that? Really, I would be the biggest twit out there if I said, nah, I think I'll be fine. No, that's not for me. Of course I will.
Not a particularly great distinction to have lived your life without having watched one. I had a friend who had never watched I Love Lucy.
Now see, that's not on.
And I told her, I watched this episode, and while I don't know that she became a Lucy freak, she did watch a lot of I Love Lucy in her lifetime.
Yeah.
On a side note, I've never watched Titanic.
Oh,
you can live a really fulfilled life without having watched Titanic.
I have a deal with my wife. She's got a list of movies that I have to watch, and I have a list of movies that she needs to watch.
Yeah.
And then we swap.
That's cool.
I'm still on the hook for Titanic. I made her watch Fight Club.
there's a podcast in that, Evan.
Yeah.
I think there is.
Yeah.
Yes, no, it's been absolute honor. Just before you go, where can people find you on the social medias?
Well, I've really enjoyed talking to you guys. This has been a lot. Oh, I'm the only social media I do is Twitter.
Thankfully, yep.
At David Zippel, I think. Is that what it is? I think it is.
Yes.
At David Zippel on Twitter. So you can find me there.
Yep.
Follow me. It would be fun to see the numbers go up.
Yes, no, definitely. Like I sometimes I see like TikTokers have 1 million followers. I'm like, what? There are so many artists out there that deserve that. Anyways, no, it's been an absolute honor. Thank you so much. And for listeners out there, if you're in London or in the UK or in Europe, go over and see Cinderella on the West End.
Yeah, thank you so much for sitting down with two idiots from the other side of the world. Congratulations on everything you've done. Cinderella is going to be amazing. Yes, you should be very proud. Thank you.
I really enjoyed it. Take care. I've enjoyed your other podcasts. Listening to Patty Murin and Joanna Gleason, and to the gentleman from the Muppets, which you just sent me.
Yeah.
So thank you again.
No, thank you for listening, and please keep listening because we're bringing on some amazing guests coming out. So,
Hadley, I will definitely watch Hadley.
for everyone at home, you take care, and we shall see you next time. Hooroo! Awesome.
Thank you, guys.
Like Quicksand!